Welcome to an Alaska homestead. We're becoming more self-sufficient on a remote island in southeast Alaska. Hey, we're going to be putting our leach field in for our gray water today, and thought we'd bring you along with us. So last week we got all the stumps out of the way, and I've got everything kind of mocked up here. So we'll get our blue barrel cut in half and then go grab some sand and rocks and get this sucker installed. So on these blue barrel coronavirus, so on these blue barrels there's a seam and it's on both sides. We're just going to cut right along that seam and split the sucker in half. There we go, now we're into it. I want to be a little more careful here. There we go, we got two halves. So we'll need to cut an end off of each piece, and that way that we can marry those two together. And then we'll need to drill a hole to fit the 2-inch pipe into the other end of this. But first we're gonna get the two end pieces so we can marry them together. Alright, so I'm going to cut this so it goes, I don't know, 3 inches, 4 inches past the tube. Like a champ. So I just took some shell and rock from the beach and then just put it down here for some good drainage. So now we can install the barrel. I mean, I don't think it's necessary, but I'm just going to marry these up with zip ties just so they don't become separated once I start backfilling it. Alright, the wind's picking up a little bit, so you'll probably hear that. We pretty much got this all finished now. I just got to backfill it, but basically Water comes in, hits the barrels, food particles should settle down at the barrels, and then water should come up, come out, and get distributed through this last pipe. The last pipe may be going a little overboard, but I figure what the heck, we'll give it a shot. Hopefully it'll make the system last a few years longer. So I'll get this thing buried, and then I'll stick some sticks down in there so I remember where it's at. I'm just gonna just take it off after something. Probably a squirrel, hopefully. Yeah, so I'll put some sticks in it, and that way I'll remember where it's at so I don't run it over with the tractor. So we've got some new neighbors that have moved in, and they are loud, and at dusk they start fighting, and I'm gonna go over there and give them a piece of my mind. So at night they try to jockey for position on this buoy, and they fight, and with my bedroom window open in the summer, I hear them all night long, and they're pretty loud. Going inside, go lay down. Okay, here comes one splashing out there. So we repositioned our crab pots, but we're still catching just a handful of dungees, and we're catching the majority of them are king crab still. It's a little early in the season, so I'm not too stressed about it, but come a couple more weeks and then we'll be in the prime time season. That's when the commercial fishing opens up. So I'm just trying to find a good spot before the commercial guys start laying their hundreds of pots down on the bottom.
Want to watch him swim away? That one looks mad. That one looks really angry. I don't know if I want it. I don't want to get pinched. I'll pull my leg up. Somebody's going to want to eat that one day.
Here, hold that one up.
Trying.
It's a pretty good size one.
Oh no, the ones we had last time were way bigger though.
Were they bigger?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Look at him.
He's too small. Oh man, he is ugly. You want to watch him swim away?
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Let go my. Whee! Down, down she goes.
Here in the southeast Alaska, this ground is really spongy. I mean, literally, it gives when you step on it. So one of the ways I make trails out here is to get this super thick fabric. They call it a landscape fabric, but I call it a trail fabric. And it lets water out. So what it does is it helps disperse the weight of the tractor. So I throw a little level of rocks down and then throw some sand down. And then we'll just drive on this thing for a few weeks. And once it all settles down into place, then we'll throw a final land of sand over it and smooth it out. And then we'll just trim the extra fabric off and put like a little rock foundation around it so it kind of looks tidy. But I have a plan for everything, but we're a couple years away. So it's a construction zone, so it doesn't look the best, but when it's all said and done, it's gonna be paradise. So if you don't lay that stuff down and you don't do anything, then this is what it looks like. And that's why we're making a trail back here. I have to stop for the day because we've got a high tide. The tide's, I mean, it looks like it's far out there, but when we've got a super low tide and a super high tide, the tide comes up really fast, and I don't want to be operating below tide level and have something happen without a few hours to repair something and get the tractor out of the way, because the ocean doesn't care. It's going to come up regardless whether you got a tractor broke down on the beach or not. So that's why we're calling it quits for the day. Well, while we wait for the tide to come up and go back down, I figured we'd water the garden and let the chickens out so they can scratch around a little bit, stretch their legs a little bit. Girls. These girls need some help. There we go. Now you all got it. Who are we missing? We're missing a white one. She's in the box. Oops, we're a little foggy in here, aren't we? Oh, well, it's 80 degrees in here. That's pretty good. Holy smokes, man. Might have to take my jacket off. I think it's 50-something, 52 degrees outside. I was working in the shade, but whew, I'm hot now. We got some more tomatoes we're going to plant, so we'll get them planted in the greenhouse here. And, man, let's cross our fingers. Let's hope these things grow. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 100 degrees inside the double hoop bed. So the double hoop bed's definitely hotter than the greenhouse. Well, this is what happens when you're having a bad YouTube day and you think that you're filming, but you're not filming. So I didn't film any of me planting these tomatoes in, and then I dropped my camera. Not once, but a couple times. So just chalk it up to a bad YouTube day. So Marquita brought us over some tomato plants, so I just got done planting all of them, and I thought I'd drop my camera. So I just got done planting them, giving them a good water. So hopefully those guys will take off, man. They look really good, a lot better than what we started. So I'm just doing some odds and ends stuff here because if you stayed to the end of the last video, I bent the cylinder rod on the backhoe for the stick portion, and then a friend of mine, Captain Funk, he said don't operate the backhoe anymore because you could cause damage to the hydraulic pump and some of the valves inside there. So I said okay. So we're just kind of on a hold pattern until that cylinder comes in. It should be here any time. So yeah, we're just doing some odds and ends stuff. I'm gonna feed up the hummingbird feeders, and then we'll go top off the batteries because it's time to equalize the battery bank. And let's get to it. All right, so we're gonna check our fluid levels here, see how everything's looking. Add a little distilled water to those that need it. The water's above all the plates in here, but it is a little lower than it was the last time I checked it, so I'm just adding a little bit of distilled water just to top them off. So these things were float charging. I just added water to them, some distilled water. So now I'll go start the generator up. We'll make sure they're float charging again. That just means they're charged 100%. Then we'll hit the old equalize button, and then it equalizes the system. So we'll go ahead and top the generator off with fuel. When these things equalize, it takes a lot of power, and it takes a little bit of time to get them all charged up enough or equalized. So we're gonna just top it off, and when it's done equalizing, we'll just come out here and turn it off. I don't know if you can read that or not. Can you read that? So it says float charging, so we're going to hit the button, hold it down, and then it should switch it to equalize. There you go. So now we're equalizing. And then that's it. The generator will rev up because it's going to be running a lot of current through that thing. We got to wait a couple hours and it'll be done. So it tells you to not have anything running that draws a lot of power. So I've got everything turned off except for the signal booster. So, but that doesn't draw hardly anything. Well, I think that's going to sum this up. I just got a call from the Bobcat dealer. The cylinder for the backhoe is in. So when I go to town, I'll upload this video and pick that cylinder up, and then we can finish burying the leach field and finish my little trail going to the backyard. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next week.